Interesting because, I mean, if you take Dylan, after he did all that rock and roll stuff, he went through a country phase. He did sort of 2 great albums, which were John Wesley Harding, and 3 actually, and Nashville Skyline and New Morning. They're all kind of in that country feel. But there were some great songs came out there that other people used, you know, like All Along the Watchtower, which is just lost on John Wesley Harding, which is where it comes from. But it took Hendrix to really see the possibility of that. And now you hear it every time you go to an open mic. Open mics are an interesting thing, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail in a minute. I've got loads of examples of Dylan's, but we're going to sort of run out of time on that, so I'm not going to do anything from the country period. But then he ran the sort of rock and country stuff in parallel, and he really then started to influence other people. So, for instance, listen to this. This went an awfully long way from where it started to become absolutely fabulous. If your memory serves you well, we're gonna meet again and wait. I'm gonna unpack all my things before it gets too late. No man alive will come to you with another tale to tell. Know that we shall meet again if your memory serves you well. Wheels on fire, rolling down the road. Of kin, this wheel shall explode. What Dylan did and was successful at doing is getting his work embedded in other people's work. And in, you know, that in a sense is what one of the problems that you're trying to solve if you're selling products that you want to go into other people's activities, whether you're selling, you know, you're acting as a, what in the IT world we used to call original equipment manufacturers, you're making bits for other people to use, or you're getting your materials incorporated in somebody else's course, all of that kind of stuff. So you want to really learn from how some of these guys actually managed to do that. And I think the whole area of covers is very, very interesting because it takes us out of the sort of rock field and into the sort of jazz standard area, because I want to talk a little bit about jazz just before we finish off as well. The interesting thing about covers is I looked at when I was sort of researching for this, I looked out who are the most used, the most covered songs, and they're either jazz standards or they're Beatles songs. There's sort of 3 Beatles songs in the top 10. Now I'm going to do a Beatles song in a minute, but I'm going to do a couple of the sort of jazz numbers just to, you know, illustrate a couple of points really. So the next one I'm going to do is Cry Me a River, which is actually a sort of beautiful song. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Can cry me a river, I cried a river over you. You drove me, yeah, it drove me out of my head. You never shed a tear. I remember all that you said. Told me love was too plebeian. Told me you were through with me. And so you've got things like that. You've got things like Summertime, which have basically gone everywhere. Everybody's had a crack at that, from you know, through to Janis Joplin. Her version of that was really, really powerful. Took it into really dark spaces. And these songs take on a life of their own. I mean, you know, that song, that's a whole relationship. You know, you know everything about those 2 people, and what is it? It's 2.5 verses, 2 verses and a chorus. That's all there is.
and it's all there. Summertime is the same, you know, it's the whole cycle of life in 2 verses, and that's really what you need to be aiming at. I mean, it's kind of, you know, songwriting is almost as good as doing Google ads and writing tweets. You know, it really forces you to get the stuff into a very narrow space, to really crystallise the idea, and that's what these songs do, and that's why they become popular. And sometimes they take on a complete life of their own. It's, we haven't done anything from the Beatles yet, so we ought to do one really. See if I can.
Is this a remastered version?
Well, with a little help from my friends, yeah. What would you do if you sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I'm getting high with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Well, that's how Ringo did it. And then along came Joe. I'm getting by with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? Just need someone to love. Could it be anybody? Just need someone to love. Would you believe in a love at first sight? I'm certain it happens all the time. What do you see when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. I get by with a little help from my friends. By with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I get by with a little help from my friends.
You see, it's a totally different feel, but it's the same song. And that's what you get by putting stuff into other people's space. But that's really, you know, that's what a song does. That it needs to be able to take on a life of its own and go into other spaces. So if you are creating products, you don't necessarily want to do all the selling of the products yourself. You want to create something which is attractive to somebody else that they pick up and use. And I'm just going to do one more of Mr. Dylan's.
Mama, take this badge away from me. I can't use it anymore. Getting dark, too dark to see. Feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. See, that's classic Dylan. It's got that feel of confusion, it's got that feel of impending doom and apocalypse, which runs through all his work. And that's, again, it's a really simple song, 2 verses and a chorus, that's all there is to it. And yet it's been transformed by other masters who wanted to make use of it as a vehicle for their own talents, like Bob Marley and Clapton. So that's what I have to say about covers.